Hello, everybody, and welcome to another year of Tidalclan. I would like to address that I am recording this audio during a heat wave, so my fan is on, and I cannot change it. So, a lot happens. I don't have anything else to say. Let's just jump right into it. So, sadly, our first death really early in the year is Frostflick. He was seen arguing with a bubbling clan cat, and, well, that's all he did. He died immediately after, uh, because he is swallowed by a wave while hunting. So yeah, it's always hard to see a clan founder die, but we will always remember Frostflag. Cloudy Paw managed to get his warrior name, and was named Cloudy Fade and honored for his compassion. He became a compassionate cat and an excellent teacher. But sadly, when he was on patrol, he found two kits along the Ibis clan border. He tried to return them, but when he comes across the patrol, they assume the worst. Cloudy Fade is killed, and Rosewood has no choice but to report back. So, yeah, we were not very fond of Ibis clan this year, because they killed a really young warrior who was just really compassionate and wanted to help two kids go home. So we will miss Cloudy Fade. He was honestly one of my favorite to draw, sadly, so, you know. Another young one in our lineup, sadly this is a bit of a theme with this here. Rasharder's Loud Kit tried to force his way into guarding the camp, which is cute. And then he is apprenticed to Rosewood. Sadly, he never even gets to go on patrol because he gets heat exhaustion, which loudly turns into heat stroke and he passes away. His warrior name would have been Loudstem, and I literally told you guys last year how excited I was for him, and sadly, he didn't make it. Crestpaw was apprenticed to her sibling, Barracuda Whisper, and she was confident and quick to make peace. Their first patrol was gathering moss. Barracuda Whisper tried to be patient with her, but Crestpaw just kept shredding the moss so that it wasn't useful. Sadly, she gets white cough after this and died of the disease. So this is not the best way to learn that Honeydapple and Dusty Cuddles got together and had kids. But this is their son, Bracken Kid, and he did not make it. He seemed to just be kind of weak. He just wasn't born strong. He got kitten cough when he was only a moon old and passed away. And here we have another tragedy. These three are all new faces, and I'm just going to talk about them real quick. Sharp Kit, Thrift Kit, and Algae Kit join the clan after their mother dies in birth. Sharp Kit actually had insomnia and just died due to being a weak kitten. Algae Kit lived a little longer, but then died to green cough. Thrift Kit fell into a river, but was saved by Grassfur. Thrift Kit could not stop crying. Both of her siblings were dead, and she had no mother. She was then apprenticed to Crouchfoot, but got hit by a green cough outbreak. And then she died. So all three of them are together in StarClan. And, I like to think that if I ever decided to introduce reincarnation, these three would definitely be up there on the list of those who deserve to get another chance at life. Before we hop into the living cats, we actually have an animatic. This tooth had to talk to Glintstar. The green cough outbreak was serious, and he was worried about it spreading to kids. He went to the leader's den, only to find that he wasn't alone. He was with Rushbud. They were a little too close together to be mistaken for just a leader and a deputy. Yeah, so Glintstar decided to be a problem But let's just ignore that for a minute. Uh, Glintstar actually has a really high, relationship bar with Egret Pelt. And after looking at everyone's relationships, it seems as though a majority of the clan actually dislikes Glintstar. We'll get into specifics later, but yeah, Glintstar is not super popular with his clan. He then gets a claw wound from trying to rescue a cat from a dog, only for the cat to turn on him and run away from the dog. With the dog, my bad. It immediately gets infected, and he is killed by this infected wound, and now has 7 lives. Glintstar then gets green cough, which he heals from, and while he has a lot of romantic like for Rushbud, and has an affair with him, he actually has a small dislike bar for the deputy. And Rushbud isn't the only cat he dislikes. He has a dislike bar for Crouchfoot, Dusty Cuddles, Tree Spunk, Tree Tumble, hates Rodeo Speck, Grassfur, Slipglove, Hyacinth Chaser, Sky Splinter, Barracuda suffix, Dancing Pad, Rift suffix, and Sprout suffix. That is an entire third of the clan that he has no positive feelings for. He's just kind of a diva. Compassionate. Sure. So let's ignore the elephant in the room for a minute and talk about Rushbud. Rushbud actually dislikes Thankless. Who knew? And at one point gets heat exhaustion, and despite this, still decides to assess the apprentices. After the loss of Loudpaw, Rushbud feels as though he will never be the same. A part of him has died. And as Leaffall turns to Leaf Bear, Rushbud and Wisttooth decide to have another litter of kits. They bring home Hailkit, a quiet boy. Glintstar actually helped them find a surrogate, as it was his sister who decided to be a loner instead of joining the clan. But after the kid is born, Wisttooth catches Rushbud and Glintstar alone in the leader's den, a little too close for professional deputy leader business. Rushbud tries to tell him it isn't what it looks like, and Wisttooth lets him lie to him. He doesn't believe for a second that Rushbud isn't cheating on him, but the lie is easier to believe. It should be said that Rushbud's affair seemed to be happening shortly after his son died. It's entirely possible that Glintstar was taking advantage of a grieving father. Rushbud's romance bar towards Glintstar isn't even that high. After looking at the notes, Glintstar and Rushbud actually fought a lot leading up to the discovery of the affair. While Glintstar still is absolutely smitten with Rushbud, the deputy has realized where his loyalties lie, and it's with his mate. He seems to feel a lot of guilt. While he's not totally blameless, but there are enough mitigating factors that I think he could feasibly be forgiven. There isn't much to say about Hailkit since he was only just born a few moons ago, but you can imagine him growing up in an environment where he's basically the product of an affair, which in game he is. Uh, he doesn't have the strongest connection with Wisttooth, has no connection with Glintstar, and is just kind of always in the nursery with Rushbud. He does play with another kit in the nursery who was found and taken in. They aren't great friends, but they do play together. And yeah, so there's not much to say about Hail Kit except please be okay. You know what makes all of this worse? Wisp has a crush on Glintstar and Honeydapple, but Glintstar is the bigger one. It's one-sided, by the way. Anyway, Wisp and Dancing Pad seem to have put their differences aside and now have insightful conversations with each other about StarClan. At some point, he gets White Cough, and then he thinks about taking on a new apprentice. But yeah, elephant in the room. His mate cheats on him with Glintstar, who does not like him back. And while Wishtooth and Rushbud are still together, Wishtooth feels betrayed. He doesn't know what to do, especially when they have a kit so young. And the kit looks just like Glintstar. He loves Hailkit and he loves his mate, but he feels very torn. And I don't know. Obviously, as a polyamorous individual myself, I do not condone cheating at all. If you want to have an open relationship, that's your business. And I feel like Rushbud and Wishtooth could have worked something out. But apparently Glintstar is just a bit messier than either of them could account for. On to Dancing Pat, who is a little less dramatic. He actually has a crush on Grasper, because, like, half the clan has a crush on Grasper. He has a status that he doesn't doubt himself while training a cat. I assume this is about Glintstar, since his claw wound was infected at the time. Sadly, Glintstar did lose his life to that, but, you know, what can you do? He doesn't have any particularly strong feelings towards anyone except Wishtooth, who he's grown to both like and respect. He has just kind of kept to himself, which, fair enough. So Rosewood is our most senior warrior, and I only have one note about him, and it's that he found a secret exit out of camp. So that does beg the question, why did he need a secret exit? What is he doing? Is he doing something nefarious? Is he sneaking out to see someone? Or does he just like to be a sneaky little man? I don't know. And we'll probably only know in later years. Alright, so let's start with Honeydapple. Honeydapple has crushes on Wishtooth, did have a crush on Frostfoot, Crouchfoot, and Dancing Pad. I did not know, because he didn't like Dusty Cuddles, but apparently Dusty Cuddles liked him. And Dusty Cuddles admitted his feelings, and they became mates. Uh, Obviously, these two had kids together only a moon after becoming mates. They got a surrogate, um, from Dusty Cuddles' side, because, you know, Dusty Cuddles is a kitty pet, so he has family out there in the ether. And, they hope for a small litter, and they get a small litter. They bring home Popkit, a noisy girl, Brackenkit, a polite boy, and Flarekit, a sweet girl. Now, obviously, Brackenkit does not make it, uh, but the other two are just little characters. To talk about Honeydapple by himself a little bit, he made up a creature, for Bluepaw, and Bluepaw fell for it, and he watched as the apprentice goes about planning to hunt it down. So, that's him being funny, I guess. Now, Dusty Cuddles. Dusty Cuddles, Dusty Cuddles, Dusty Cuddles. What is there to say about this sweet, sweet boy? I I don't know if you guys know this. I love Dusty Cuddles. Uh, Dusty Cuddles thinks about how kibble is nothing compared to fresh kill, and he thinks about how different his life is. And at one point, apparently, he was challenging everyone he knew to a sparring match, but was having very little recruiting success. He's also best friends with Tree Tumble, which, fair enough, the elderly also need friends. So yeah, that's these two. They're adorable. Here's hoping they continue to be adorable. So here we have the polycule. They have all survived. And I guess first we'll talk about Grassfur. Grassfur, at one point, he gets green cough because he gets green cough every year. I'm starting to think he has a not great immune system. And I forgot to draw them when I was drawing him earlier, but apparently he also gets crow feathers, which are fun. And then we also have his mate, Egret Pelt. Now here's the thing. While Glintstar sees Egret Pelt as his best friend, Egret Pelt actually has a strong dislike for the leader. I think she sees him as kind of an egomaniac. She gets along well with Freshbud, however. Later, she had the status that she saw a kitty pet with no fur at all, but it might have just been Siltstar. She also got hit by the Green Cloth outbreak, but she recovered. Hazelhiss didn't get up to much this year. He watched the sunset, and that's about it. He did get an apprentice. He got one of his daughters as an apprentice. No, his son. I keep accidentally misgendering Siegel. But he got one of his sons as an apprentice. And so he really spent most of his time training his son and really focusing on that bond. So yeah, Teaseless, he's doing great. They're all doing great. The Polly is doing great. What could possibly go wrong, am I right? So next up, we have a new face, Vasco Stock. And I actually looked it up. Apparently, Vasco is like a sports thing with, football, aka soccer. Anyway, Vasco Stock joins Clan, saying she has been training for moons, trying to get ready to be part of Clan life. She's childish, a good storyteller, and a good fighter. She immediately gets her tail injured by a fox. And she does recover, but then she gets white cough during the green cough, white cough epidemic at the end of the year. As far as I know, she has not recovered yet. It's not in my notes. Uh, but hopefully she doesn't die and gets better because she's very cute, and I hope she does stuff. Alright, so next we have Rodeo Spec. And Rodeo Spec, during their time at camp, has actually started to see Mallow Stripe differently. Which, if you remember, those two were both kitty pets, and they came to camp together to join. Early on in the year, Rodeo Spec gets a mangled leg from a dog. And after basically trying to recover for like half the year, 3/4 of it, Rodeo Spec ends up having to have the leg removed by Dancing Pad. Apparently, however, she is on top of the hot goss because she is waiting for a war to be declared. Probably because of the incident with Ibis Clan. So I guess we'll see if a war is declared. Maybe Rodeo Spec is onto something. Maybe we should all be preparing for war. So Crouchfoot starts the year by getting kidnapped by Two Legs. Don't worry, he did immediately come back. He was found by his clan, thanks to our clan. But then he gets kidnapped, which is not fun. But then he comes back again. I don't know if maybe the first time he got kidnapped by Two Legs, they chipped him, maybe? I don't know, maybe he's in the two-leg Humane Society system as Stubby or something, and they're like tracking where he is, and I don't know. It's a theory. It's a theory. If he gets kidnapped by Two Legs again, I'm going to be inclined to believe that. He got two apprentices, one of which was Thriftpaw, which is sad, and I just misread it. He only got Thriftpaw this year, and obviously Thriftpaw did not make it. So yeah, Crouchfoot has kind of had a rotten year. So, Mallowstripe. Not much to say about her. She's still kind of getting used to the clan. At one point she gets white cough, but she gets better. And then multiple cats throughout the year had the status that they can't keep up with Mallowstripe. So apparently, Mallowstripe is like Brackenfoot in the canon books, and is just constantly running everywhere. So, I don't know. Someone draw Mallowstripe just sprinting. That might be fun. Now, Daisy Paw is named Daisy Fur and honored for her spirit. She is now confident and an excellent teacher. She has goals to be deputy, so that's wonderful. But she does get a broken bone from fighting a dog on patrol, and she doesn't heal from this broken bone until the last moon of the year. Now, I did notice whenever I was looking at her relationship, she does not get along with Hyacinth, insert suffix here, or Blue, insert suffix here. She does not get along with Hyacinth or Blue. She's honestly just kind of distant from her littermates, and I don't know why she would be. Apparently, they're just not close. Sometimes it's like that. But if we ever get a mediator, I might try and have them mediate that relationship a little bit, your siblings. So, Barracuda Paw, during her apprenticeship, convinces all of her siblings to play moss ball instead of doing their duties. She gets them all in big trouble, but she thinks it's worth it. After this, she is dubbed Barracuda Whisper and honored for her skill. She is now compassionate, a lore keeper, and a good teacher. She does get an apprentice, and when she listens to her apprentice, she doesn't judge. So she also, in the events tab, she went missing for a few days. So that makes me think she might have something going on with someone outside of the clan. I'll be looking over when I look at other when I play the other clans, I'll be looking at their statuses to kind of figure out what that might mean. Or maybe Barracuda Whisper just went on an adventure. Who knows? Because Barracuda Whisper is gonna Barracuda Whisper. Alright, so Blue Paw, early on in the year, is named Blue Peak and honored for his cunning. He is now troublesome, a great teacher, and very clever. What does he use this cleverness for? He plays pranks and then blames it on the apprentices. Which, fair enough. If you can get away with it, why wouldn't you? Which you hope he's playing fairly innocent pranks. Now we have the last of the litter, which is Hyacinth Paw, and she is given the name Hyacinth Chaser and honored for her decisiveness. While she's happy, she just wishes her first mentor, Long Tiger, was there to see her. She is now daring and a good speaker, and when I send Hyacinth Chaser on a solo patrol, she actually comes across the Garfield phone, which if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you, but it's just kind of a cursed phenomenon that happened. At the end of the year, she has a crush on Dancing Pad. He's only about 18 moons older, which seems reasonable at this point in her life. A lot of people seem to have a crush on Dancing Pad, and I don't blame them. He is very pretty. So, Ethan Chaser is apparently going to put her hat in the ring. Woo. So next up, we have Slippaw, who is dubbed Slipglow and honored for her ferocity. She is now bloodthirsty and clever, and this is a little concerning. She was not only given Stumpy suffix as an apprentice, but is now training another cat, and she actually has a small crush on Barracuda Whisper. She got the status that she drew blood during training and coldly says it was an accident. Please don't mean your apprentice. She did nothing to deserve it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on Slipglow. I'm a little worried about her. She's concerning. So Sproutpod did not have a good start of the year. She fell out of a tree. But she was fine, she didn't break anything. She was named Sprout Mask and celebrated for her affection. She is charismatic and incredibly clever. It is bittersweet, since her mentor did just die, which, if you remember correctly, was Frostflick, but after that, Glintstar took over her apprenticeship, which was only for a couple moons. She was also hit by the white cough slash green cough epidemic at the end of the year, but she recovered. She finds some flower bulbs and gives them to Mallowstripe, so if when you saw Mallowstripe's little new flowers, I forgot to mention them, they were given to her by Sprout Mask. Just as a friendly thing, I think. I don't think it's meant to imply anything. Next up, we have Sky Splinter, the third of this litter, and he is named Sky Splinter for his hard work. And he actually has a small crush on Blue Peak, although this is not reciprocated. And that's about it. He honestly just kind of vibed this year, which I greatly respect. So if you remember Stumpy Paw, he is the little baby of Whisttooth and uh, Rushbud. He is apprenticed to Slipglow. On Stumpy Paw's first patrol, he's patrolling when sand caves in beneath him. And because Slipglow is unable to be there, it's actually Rosewood that digs him out, and he's very shaken by this. As an apprentice, he is bold and confident with words. He is then dubbed Stumpy Call and honored for his decisiveness, and he is now an eloquent speaker. He takes a nap with Hail Kit. He gets along with his dad, Egret and Dusty Cuddles, but doesn't have any strong relationship besides those. This little guy, the last time you saw him, he was a potato. This let's start with Riff Kit Paw is apprenticed to Dusty Cuddles. He is lonesome and quick to help. During Riff Paw's first apprentice patrol, they come across a fox, but Dusty Cuddles manages to scare it off. Riff Paw is named Riff Quill and honored for his integrity. He's rather awkward at his ceremony and afterwards needs a moment to slip out and be alone. He is then attacked by a dog and gets a torn pelt, but it's fine, or at least it should be. So needless to say, little guy's had a big year. He's a whole year old. And here we have Seaglepaw, who again, last time you saw him, he was a little potato. He is apprenticed to Grassfur, and as an apprentice, he is nervous, quick to help, and an avid play fighter. On his first patrol, Grassfur tries to teach him how to hunt an octopus. Instead, it latches onto his face before managing to get away. I am crediting that one Shadow Dog for helping me with this piece because she said she wanted to draw for the series, and I said, okay, you can draw this. And so, yeah, I will be linking to her channel in the description. And then Seaglepaw receives bluebells from her father, Teaseless. So that's sweet. Obviously he's not a warrior yet, but he's getting there. He just needs a little more practice. So, this is Paw, and Paw is a whole 6 moons old, and she is uh, Honey Dapple and Dusty Cuddles' little babe. Uh, so Popkit, because her brother died so young, she actually rolled to develop dissociative identity disorder. Because it was very traumatic what happened to her brother, and then there was a bunch of death around the same time in camp with Sharp Kit, LG Kit, and Thrift Paw, and it was just a lot. And so now she is developing dissociative identity disorder, which I did roll to see what would happen, to see what she would develop, because when she was born, she rolled to be more likely to develop a trauma disorder. So, I will always be referring to Paw as Paw, but sometimes in specific stories I might mention a different name. Anyway, so Paw, as a kid, Kit actually tries to force her way into guarding the camp, which is very cute, in my opinion, and then she is apprenticed to Sprout Mask. I didn't actually write down what her first patrol was, so I drew her with her sister Flarepaw. Now, Flarepaw is apprenticed to Slipglow, and she is so excited that she shoves her nose in a little too eagerly. Now, Flarepaw actually doesn't like Vasco Stock. Her sister told her when she was a kid that Vasco Stock stories were better, and she still holds a grudge. So, I guess we'll see what happens there. On to the elders then. We have our one elder, Tree Tumble. And Tree Tumble actually is one of the cats that dislikes, Bloodstar. Now, on from that, Tree Tumble takes the death of Frostflick very hard. He always brought her fresh moss and else if she needed help with ticks, even when there were plenty of apprentices to do so instead. He listened to her grumbling and whining. Now he's gone, and it doesn't feel right. She fights off a horde of rats, gets injured in the process, and, well, she's come out the other side fighting. Tree Tumble will never die. I say so. Auburn Kit doesn't know where he's from. All he knows is that it was cold and suddenly Grassfur was there. But he's a know-it-all and interested in clan history. There isn't much to say except he looks interesting. I like him. He's cute. He's very adorable. So, before we wrap this up, we are going on to the other clans. First, in Ibis clan, Oleanderstar takes on 2 apprentices this year, one right after another. She also takes Lightbright as a mate, and then they may immediately break up. They gave it a shot, and apparently it wasn't working. Skyrim mostly had statuses hating on Roachpaw the entire year, right up until Roachpaw died. So yeah, Skyrim's kinda stinky, apparently. And then Lightbright takes on an apprentice, Emerald Paw, but sadly he was killed by Grinkoff. His romantic and platonic endeavors both failed. Moving on to Toad Clan, we have Shatterstar, who had a pretty decent year reciting from 2 murders in the clan. She mentored Roachpaw, who later became Roachfang, so she was busy. And then the deputy Lavender Fur was murdered by a clanmate, Aphid. She is then replaced by Roarspring. She's a little young to be deputy, but Shatterstar appears to be confident in her. And then Doe Thistle finally got an apprentice, Birdpaw, who was an abandoned kitten with 3 legs, and he actually didn't like her. The two did not get along well. And then Doe Thistle, he took the loss of Lavender for really hard, as she was sort of a mother figure to him. But once Bird Whisker is made a full medicine cat, he becomes the first mediator in the clans. Sadly, however, Bird Whisker is murdered by Shatterstar's mate, and Doe Thistle has to go back to being the medicine cat. He is not happy about it, and neither am I. I grew attached to Bird Whisker. I would just like to point out that is 2 murders done by 2 separate cats in this clan. I don't know what it is about Toad Clan. Murder. On to Bubbling Clan. Siltstar apparently has been seeing a kitty pet secretly and invites him into the clan because they want to start a family. They have 2 kits with the help of a surrogate. He also gets a claw wound that gets infected, and after this he goes from cold to bloodthirsty. Now he's thinking about stealing kits from other clans. Lion's leg is permanently weakened. He then gets a mangled tail from a fox, so not fun. Then that manages to become infected, and he's then killed by a dog. and replaced by Silkstar's mate Chocolate. He's only deputy for 2 moons by the end of the year, so there's not much to say about him. Apricot Growl is no longer the only she-cat in camp, now being joined by Frondpaw. She still seems generally nervous, especially since Bubbling Clan is still so small. Meanwhile, the other clans have grown exponentially. And that's it. That is year 3, in a nutshell. Feel free to comment down below what you thought. A lot happened. And I will see you next time for year 4.